welcome to the Clarinet Companion course. Today we're going to speak about slinging, or whether you should use a sling when you're playing the clarinet. Now, I grew up without a sling and learnt to play the clarinet without a sling, but had real problems with my right hand position, particularly with straining across the tendons on my right hand. And it wasn't until I learnt to play the saxophone and later the flute that I realised that I could play perfectly well without any tension in my hands. And then I had to have a look at the reason for why this happened. And what I worked out was this, is in some people your right hand thumb hinges in such a way that when you put pressure on it, so I was holding the clarinet just now and I put pressure on my thumb, this joint remains stable and it remains firm, like so. Now I can't play the clarinet like that, and you'll find there's a proportion of the population can't do that. Now, this means that when you put the clarinet onto your thumb, or when I put the clarinet onto my thumb in my normal playing position, what happens to my thumb is this. I press down on my thumb and you can see that this joint here collapses completely. Now that doesn't happen with everybody, but it certainly happens with me. If that happens with you when you're playing, you definitely need to sling. You'll find that if your thumb hinges in the wrong place, you have all kinds of problems with holding the clarinet. When I was at the Royal Academy of Music in London, my teacher gave me exercises to try and strengthen this muscle here, and I did these exercises like this and they never did any good, and the reason for which is there was nothing to support the muscular thing here. This is really the joint supporting the clarinet. So if you put your hand out and you put your clarinet in your thumb collapses like mine does at this joint here, then I would advise you to get a sling. Young people can use slings as well, very young people, but the disadvantage of doing that is if your thumb hinges properly and you go to use a sling, you're never going to learn to lift the clarinet properly. Although it is a heavy instrument, it has to be said. The modern clarinet is much heavier than it used to be. Now, let's see if I can show you the angle on this. You see here, if I'm holding the clarinet, you can see my thumb collapsing here, like so. Now, if I use a sling, the way I use the sling is, incidentally, I changed my thumb rest on the clarinet. This is an alto clarinet thumb rest that I get put on, and I have the thumb rest higher up, so I've got space to put my thumb in a nice comfortable position. I actually don't lift upwards with my thumb, I push outwards, like so. Now that means that I lose all that tension off of my thumb here, and instead of desperately trying to lift and straining my right hand because it won't lift properly, I push outwards, rotate against the sling, and I can play very comfortably in that form. So if you have a little experiment with that and have a look at the shape of your thumb when you put pressure on it, and I would advise you try a sling, and it will make your life much more comfortable playing the clarinet.